Absalom was David's third son. It is written, there was no one praised for his beauty as much as Absalom. From the sole of his foot to the top of his head, there was no flaw in him. He was also a wise and patient man. Such a man caused a certain incident. I would like to investigate what happened.
Amnon was born as David's first son. David's first wife was named Ahinoam, and she was from Jezreel. Probably, she was David's first wife, followed by Abigail, and he also had Saul's daughter Michal as a wife. Since Amnon was born in Hebron, he was a child when David first became king of Judah. So it seems he had reached a considerable age. He knew that David had been pursued by Saul and that David always won whenever he went into battle. Therefore, when David became king in Jerusalem, Amnon's position must have been secure. Perhaps he thought that as the eldest son, he would succeed as the next king. When Amnon appears in the Bible, he was already aware of being a king's son, and might have thought he could get away with a certain degree of selfishness. Absalom was David's third son. He had a sister born from the same mother. Her name was Tamar. Both Absalom and Tamar were children of David's fourth wife, Maacah. Both were handsome and beautiful. Amnon was in love with his half-sister Tamar. Tamar was probably quite a young girl. In contrast, Amnon, who was born in Hebron, was likely much older than Tamar. Amnon was captivated by her beauty and was troubled by it.
He probably knew that a relationship between siblings was against the Moses law.
Amnon had a cousin named Jonadab, who was a friend of his. Jonadab was a relative of the king, being the son of David's brother. Seeing that Amnon was troubled, Jonadab said, "Prince, you are looking worn out every morning. Please explain the reason." Amnon answered, "I am in love with Absalom's sister, Tamar." Jonadab, being a cunning man, suggested to Amnon, "Lie down and pretend to be ill. When your father comes to see you, ask him to send Tamar to prepare food for you and serve you." Thinking this was a good idea, Amnon immediately put it into action.
Jonadab created a situation where Tamar and Amnon could be alone together. Jonadab probably had some idea of what might happen next. However, having relations with a close relative was forbidden by Mosaic law, and breaking it could result in being stoned to death. Jonadab, assuming Amnon would become the next king, approached him and made the suggestion without considering the consequences, simply to satisfy Amnon. He might have hoped that once Amnon became king, he would be elevated to a high-ranking position as well.
Following Jonadab's advice, Amnon pretended to be ill and lay down in bed. When David came to see him, Amnon requested, "Please let my sister Tamar come and make 2 cakes in my presence, so I can eat from her hand." So David told Tamar, "Go to Amnon's house and prepare food for him." Tamar then went to Amnon's house and made the cakes in front of him. When the cakes were ready, she brought them to Amnon, but he refused to eat. Amnon said, "Bring the food into the bedroom so I may eat from your hand." When Tamar did as he asked and brought the food to him in the bedroom, Amnon grabbed Tamar and said, "Lie with me." She pleaded, "Please don't force me. If you speak to the king, he will let me marry you." But Amnon could not control himself and forcibly lay with her. Afterward, he was filled with hatred and threw Tamar out of the room.
Amnon had been attracted to Tamar's beauty but did not seek to understand or communicate with her. His actions were like those of a beast, completely disregarding her as a person, which was utterly inexcusable.
When his sister returned home crying, her brother Absalom questioned her about what had happened. Upon hearing of Amnon's brutality from her, Absalom became angry, but he did not act immediately. He only comforted Tamar, saying, "Keep silent for now." Meanwhile, David also heard about this and became very angry.
The Bible does not mention Amnon being rebuked or punished by David. Despite such an unjust environment, Absalom did not let his emotions take control. He quietly kept his anger hidden in his heart.
2 years after that incident, Absalom held a feast for the shearing of the sheep. Absalom planned to invite all the king's sons. When he informed the king of this, David said, "It would be a burden for you if I and all my sons go," and was reluctant to attend. David blessed the feast but did not attend. Absalom urged, "Please tell my brother Amnon to attend without fail." Responding to Absalom's earnest request, David allowed the princes, including Amnon, to attend the feast. Absalom had previously commanded his young servants, "Strike Amnon at my signal." When everyone was in high spirits at the feast, Absalom gave the order to strike Amnon. Seeing the young men strike Amnon, the other princes hastily fled the scene. For 2 years, Absalom had suppressed his anger, waiting for the opportunity to strike Amnon. His composure and shrewdness in not missing his chance were remarkable. This shows how unbearable what Amnon had done was to Absalom. While David was in the royal palace, a swift messenger arrived with news. "Your Majesty, Absalom has killed all the princes." David tore his clothes and lay on the ground in grief. However, Jonadab, the one who had incited Amnon, informed him, "Your Majesty, not all the princes have died. Only Amnon is dead. Please do not misunderstand." He added, "Since the day his sister Tamar was disgraced, Absalom has harbored this plan. Only Amnon is dead. Please do not heed the report that all the princes have been killed." At that moment, the princes returned, and they wept and mourned together with David.
From this point on, Absalom fled, and for 3 years he did not see David. David regretted Amnon's death continuously. Absalom, putting Tamar's situation first, avenged himself on Amnon. However, David's failure to punish Amnon, despite his anger at Amnon's actions, led to this revenge tragedy. Even the wise King David could not handle child-rearing as skillfully as he handled wars. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing to the channel.